Plant-based eating has become a huge topic when it comes to people debating what they should and should not be eating. And just like anything new, people are a little skeptical about it before starting it. And of course, I was also one of those skeptics, but today's video is going to be about me going over with you my experience with starting plant-based eating. Now, this video isn't to push you in either direction on whether you should or shouldn't be eating plant-based. All I want to do is provide you some information, give you my experience, and let you make your own decision based off of that. Now, how I'm going to do that is going to give you 3 different aspects that I think were pretty influential in me being skeptical about it. Those aspects are going to be the cost, the nutritional value, and the overall taste or just overall satisfaction of the food. Now, if you're watching this video, I'm sure that you are at least debating eating plant-based or have at least thought about it in the past. And if you have thought about it, I'm sure those 3 aspects have crossed your mind at one point or another. So let's go ahead and get started with today's video. And don't forget, if you do like this video, go ahead and like and subscribe to my channel. But let's go ahead and get started. What is up, everyone, and welcome back to the Sean Bailey Fit channel. I do want to thank you for coming back for this video, and I know it's been a while since I posted a new one, but of course I'm still living the lifestyle, trying to grow, and over some time I've gone ahead and learned some new things that of course I want to pass on to each one of you. Now, today's video is all about eating plant-based foods only, and I think the biggest thing about that make people skeptical, it means no more meat. And I was one of those skeptics that kind of looked at that as the main reason why I wasn't sure I wanted to try it. But of course, you can't knock something until you try it. But let's get started with the basics of plant-based eating. Now, in some of my previous videos, I've gone over with you the 3 main macros that you need to have in your daily nutrition. Now, you got your fats, your carbs, and your proteins. With plant-based eating, you are not going to be missing out on any of those macros. So when you start eating plant-based, those foods are all going to fall into generally about 4 main categories. You got your fruits, your vegetables, your grains, and your legumes. So I think most people know when you got your fruits and your vegetables, they are your best source of your vitamins and minerals. So these foods are definitely going to give you a lot more of your healthy fats and carbs, in which they're going to provide you your most amount of energy for those foods. Now, of course, fruits and vegetables consist of foods like berries, potatoes, and avocados. So fruits and vegetables do give you that energy, but those tend to be a lot more short-term energy. Next up, we have grains, which is going to give you a lot more of that long-term energy. And these are going to be your best source for carbs and fiber. Now, the reason they give you a lot better long-term energy is because these tend to be more complex carbs, which ultimately means they digest slower in your system and release energy longer. And grains are going to consist of foods like your granolas, your oats, and your breads. Now, a lot of people really look at grains as sort of getting a bad rap and things that you want to avoid because of the carbs. But obviously, like I said, they are good for you in terms of energy, so they aren't necessarily best to be avoided. You just really want to keep them limited based on your actual daily activity level. And lastly, we have legume. Now, don't freak out, this isn't anything new or crazy. Legume is pretty much just seeds and nuts. Now, this is where you're going to get your main source of protein, in which when you find a lot of plant-based foods that are looking as a meat replacement, legume is ultimately those foods that are going to be included for those meat replacements. Legume is also something that you really want to be aware of and careful with, because even though it is a great source of protein, a lot of the foods can also contain a decent amount of carbs. So just like the grains, depending on your activity level, you really want to pay attention to how much of it you are eating. Now, a lot of these foods are going to consist of things like soybeans, black beans, and garbanzo beans, or aka chickpeas. So now that we have a better understanding of what plant-based foods are, let's get into those aspects that I mentioned earlier. And we're going to start with the nutritional value. Now, I don't think there's much debate on whether eating plant-based is better than eating fast food or other unhealthy options. But what I'm talking about in terms of nutritional value is getting those main macros that you need. Now, that was something I was a little skeptical about as well, but let's go over exactly how that may not be as bad as what you thought. One of the biggest mistakes I think people make is determining how healthy they are eating based on what someone else is eating. Now, eating healthier is very subjective to you and your individual goal and health. So, you shouldn't be comparing what you're doing to someone else. But I have to assume that if you are watching this video, you are at least trying to or want to eat healthier. And if you're trying to be healthier, I'm sure that you are at least looking to either lose weight, maintain some sort of general health, or looking to build or even just tone some muscle. I mean, that's pretty much one of the main reasons everybody either exercises or eats healthier, right? Regardless of whichever one of those goal categories you may fall into, nutritionally, plant-based eating is going to have its advantage, and that is really specific for losing weight and general health. Overeating is probably the main reason for unhealthy weight gain. Ultimately, you consume more calories than your body is able to use or burn off. So with eating plant-based and removing meat from your diet, in my opinion, this is going to give you the biggest benefit to avoid overeating. And the general reason for that is a lot of meats tend to be higher in fat content, even though they also give you a lot of good protein. The fats that are in a lot of meats tend to be saturated or even trans fats, which are the unhealthy fats that pretty much will clog up your arteries. Whereas a lot of plant-based foods do not contain a lot of fat, and the ones that do tend to be more of your polyunsaturated or your monounsaturated fats, which are your healthier fats. So this is giving you better control on the kinds of fats that you are eating, as well as more control on how many calories you are going to intake. So, for people who don't know, the reason I bring up the fats is because fats make up the most amount of calories. Now, when you look at proteins and carbs, for every gram of protein or carb you have, that is going to make up 4 calories. Whereas when you look at fats, for every gram of fat you have, that's going to make up 9 calories. That is more than twice as much as the proteins or carbs. But even when you do look at some of those other meats that don't contain high amounts of fat, such as your turkeys or even your chicken, there is still one thing that all plant-based foods are not going to be having that those meats are going to have, which is cholesterol. Now, just like everything else, your body can still intake and even use cholesterol, but you have to keep it very, very limited. And by eating meats, you ultimately are going to not have any way of being able to keep that as limited as you really want. So by eating plant-based, you are ultimately giving yourself a lot more leeway and freedom in terms of how much you can eat, as well as reducing and getting rid of that cholesterol that you may have in your diet, which leads to so many more health benefits that people don't realize. So when we're looking at nutritionally, of course, I've got to give the nod to plant-based. And with that, in a later video, I will go over with you guys some more on how to really meal prep and pretty much include a lot of meals to get all of those macros that you need. So keep a lookout for that video. Next, we're going to talk about the overall satisfaction and taste aspect. Now, I don't think I need to get too much into this one because, to be honest, even I think it's going to be hard for me to convince a lot of you that plant-based is going to be more satisfying or taste better than just any of your other foods. But I do want to go over a few different things to show you that it's not as lopsided as you may think. Even though I would agree with most that I would rather go have a slice of pizza or a burger every single day, but the fact is there are still a lot of plant-based foods that are not only nutritionally good, but also taste good. Now, I make a lot of those for myself and do a lot of meal preps, so of course don't forget to check out my Instagram at Sean Bailey Fit, and I'll show you some of those meal preps that I do myself. But one thing I want to add to in that with the overall satisfaction is the idea of pretty much how you feel after eating. Now, the overall satisfaction I think a lot of people think of is just when you eat and how it makes you feel, but of course I think you have to think about the full aspect. Now, I think everybody has experienced sort of that tired and sleepy feeling after lunchtime, and I don't think you realize a lot of that has to do with the foods that you eat. So think about it. You touch something hot, your body reacts, you don't touch it again. You go outside and it's cold, you put on a hat, you put on a coat. Like most people, you complain about how cold it is and you try to avoid going back outside. But for some reason, when people eat bad foods or certain kinds of foods, your stomach reacts, your stomach hurts, you get tired, and you just really have this really bad feeling afterwards. But for some reason, you continue to eat those same foods. And in my opinion, I wouldn't call that satisfied, but hey, that's just me. So the one thing I do have to get the nod on with this, with the plant-based eating, is that afterwards, these foods do tend to feel you a lot more energized. You don't have that full and tired feeling afterwards. So of course, I think that is one of the biggest benefits towards plant-based eating. But still, overall, with taste and satisfaction, I still have to go with everybody else and give the nod to just not plant-based eating. Final aspect that we're looking at is cost. So of course everybody looks at it when you go to sort of these big healthy supermarkets and you see how much more expensive the food is there, or even if you go to a restaurant. Of course you can go ahead and order a $10 salad, or you can order a meal for $10 that's going to give you a full plate of cheeseburger, fries, or whatever else it may be that's going to definitely have you more full afterwards. But looks can be deceiving, and the best way for me to sort of prove my point here with that is by giving you a simple comparison. Now, let's just consider it as you're gonna look at 3 different ways that you can eat your lunch. You can either go and get your food from a restaurant or some sort of fast food. You can make your own food, or you can sort of get that sort of healthier option lunch from another health food place or just a general store. And like I said, the main thing I'm looking at here is how cost effective it is and that I'm able to get those same amount of macros that I was looking for in terms of nutrition. So for the comparison, I'm gonna give you 3 different examples of lunches that you may get. So 2 of those examples are going to consist of some non-plant-based foods, as well as the last example is your plant-based meal. So for the first one, we're going to look at just sort of your cheat meal, which could be your basic cheeseburger and french fry. Now for the second example, we're going to look at just some sort of restaurant, store-bought, or whatever kind of chicken salad that you just easily can go buy and grab on any given case. And for our last one, the plant-based meal, we're gonna look at a homemade chickpea and avocado salad. Let's start off with the cheeseburger and fry, which actually isn't that unhealthy of a meal if you're looking at it not in terms of those quick little fast food $1 double cheeseburger type of meals, which those I'm going to tell you to avoid at any given cost no matter what. But I'm talking about something where, like a restaurant with a grilled cheeseburger or something like that. And that's just going to consist of your general just ground beef, maybe some cheddar cheese, few vegetables, obviously the bun, all that on there, and just a nice little medium french fry on the side. Next up, for the store-bought salad, I try to keep this as simple as well, but something you might find at a quick little restaurant, something where they can make the quick salads for you to go. So this will consist of something like chicken, some cucumbers, tomatoes, maybe add some bacon or egg or vinaigrette dressing, some things like that in there. Just your general store-bought salad. And finally, for the homemade chickpea and avocado salad, that also was very simple. Just your chickpeas, your avocados, some cucumber, tomato, maybe a little bit of cheese, as well as vinaigrette dressing. So let's look at the comparison here. I think it's obvious that plant-based nutritionally is going to be your best option, unless maybe you are looking to really gain a lot more weight or put on some more weight. I don't think that plant-based is going to be your obvious choice. And if I think you're looking to put on weight, you're going to have to really talk to more people and some nutritionists to make sure that you're doing that in a healthy way anyway. But when you're looking at the sort of things you want to avoid in your daily diet, plant-based eating is the obvious choice here. There is a significant difference in those things that you really want to avoid, such as your saturated fats, your sodium, and your cholesterol. Now, when you look at just a general 2,000 a day calorie diet, which obviously is going to depend on your size and what you're looking for, but these sort of foods that are non-plant-based are nearly maxing out or exceeding in those categories with most foods you're going to eat, or meals I should say that you're going to eat. So with just that one meal per day, you're already going over the limit. But let's not forget, we're here to do the cost comparison here for this aspect. Now, you look at your cheeseburger and fry, I think this generally can run you at least somewhere between $8 to $10. If you're not necessarily looking at, like I said, the fast food places with the cheap meals, which I'm telling you to avoid no matter what anyway. But generally, let's just say on average, you can get that for about $8. And then in terms of looking at the restaurant salad, I think that you can look on average, you can probably get those for somewhere between $7 to $8, maybe $9 on those good salads. But let's just, for fun's sake, say it's about $7.50 on average. Now, with the homemade avocado and chickpea salad, I think this is where that sort of cost efficiency is where a lot of people get confused. Because when you go to the store, you can't necessarily just go in and buy the one items to make the meal yourself. You have to buy all the ingredients and sort of put them together later. But when you actually average that out with the actual cost per salad that you're going to make, it is much cheaper. And that is because with all the ingredients for the avocado salad I just said, it's going to generally cost you somewhere about $13 to $15. So obviously $15 is more expensive than $8 or $7.50. But the main thing is when you're making something homemade like this, it's not just going to provide you one meal. So the burger and fry or the chicken salad you buy from the store, you eat that, you eat the one meal, it's done. There's nothing else. But the homemade salad is going to make you at least about 2 to 3 more servings. So when you average that out, the salad itself is only about $5 per meal, which is quite a bit difference between $7.50 and $8 each day when you're buying lunch. So would you rather be spending $20 to $25 on lunch per week, or would you rather be spending $35 to $40 per week on lunch? I think it's pretty obvious. Gotta give the nod to plant-based here. All in all, you're gonna have to give up a little bit of taste and sort of satisfaction when you're looking at eating plant-based foods, but for me, I think it still is much more beneficial because it is gonna be more cost-effective and it's gonna be better for you nutritionally. Just like anything, it's gonna take some time and getting used to when you're trying something new, but ultimately, overall, you will see a difference by eating plant-based and the way you feel, as well as some of those energy levels that you have throughout the day. And as I said, with my experience, it definitely has made me more aware, and I have started eating much more plant-based foods, but even though I haven't gone all the way. So I still do eat meat here from time to time, which I still suggest for everybody, even though you want to be healthier and do sort of more nutritionally conscious things. That doesn't mean you have to just cut everything out completely. You just have to be more aware and more conscious of exactly how much that you are consuming. The final thing I want to point out with eating more plant-based foods is that it's going to help you in the long run in terms of quality of life. Now, by eating these plant-based foods, it is better for you nutritionally, it's better with your digestive system, and so many different other aspects of your body. And by doing that, that's going to help you down the long run by avoiding having to take a lot more medicines and actually being able to live a healthier and more quality-filled life. So, of course, even though you may still be a little skeptical, I suggest that you definitely at least try it out. Thank you to each and every one of you who did watch this video today. Please do not forget to like and subscribe to my channel. Also, if you want to see a lot more tips on some of those different meal preps and things that I do, follow me on Instagram at Sean Bailey Fit. And keep a lookout for some more videos as I'll be going over with you different ways of how to make some more of those plant-based foods. I'll be sure to see you in the next video.